So, welcome to another moment in what is me being an active part of my recovery. Because that's really what it's about. Getting your peace of mind, knowing that your shoes fit just right. Absolutely. And all in of itself, simply to say, welcome to another episode of the Pancake Marathon. So, today, in this moment of what it can be, I absolutely had to read, the daily inspirations, just for today and, daily reflections. Because, man, talk about it, talk about it. So, simply to say, what is today's moment of communication? What is the topic? We can simply say, right? The overall theme of this episode. Well, attraction rather than promotion. And man, today is, at this moment, the agreed upon societal terminology of Sunday. Okay, and on these occurrences, for myself at this moment, is, because I partake in the experience of a halfway house, right? Which, in and of itself, every Sunday, there's a house meeting. Now, I don't really have to go. I'm not required to, and all that kind of stuff. I'm at a point in my recovery and putting in the work and all that kind of stuff where I get to go. I get to because I like it. I love the foundation. I like seeing if those, they graduated the 90-day program and all that kind of stuff in and of itself. Yet, there's a point where it's attraction rather than promotion, always. And there's somebody at the halfway house, right? A part of the group or, the fellowship in that sense of the halfway house, right? Even though the halfway house is not anything to do other than, being a place where you can focus on your recovery, right? Yet it's about attraction rather than promotion. It's always about that. No matter what way you look into recovery, it's always about attraction rather than promotion. Even in the terminology or conceptions of what it is to not be in recovery or more or less talk in recovery terms, right? That's how life works. If you don't feel that you can relate and you don't feel a sense of belonging, then what do you have, right? A religious ideology upon itself. We have these dogmatic practices to where you have to do what they do, right? Or you will be excommunicated and simply to say, well, you'll be asked to leave, right? And then probably by force because, not by force per se, but by someone's ability to, use words as a weapon. And if they do that, well, are you going to stay? Are you going to take that abuse at that point, And yet at some point, we realize, right, that the only way to really have a sense of belonging and being able to relate and, find a way back to ourselves, because that's what recovery is really all about, finding a way back to yourself, unity, having your peace of mind, And because it's a spiritual program, you don't have to do what everyone else does. It's up to you to want it. Yet, after you get the tools, are you going to keep tripping over them? Because life gives everything to you, what you ask for. You just have to pick up that tool and get back up. It doesn't matter how hard you get hit, right? It's how you finish. It's never really how you started, it's how you finish, right? It's all the practice and how much you put into it, simply to say. Yet, so what helped me get to this point of, this topic, simply to say is, well, sure, all this moments of going through what I'm going through, this podcasting journey upon itself, and the simple fact that it's always about attraction rather than promotion. Now, I was communicating to the one in the halfway house and all that kind of stuff at after the house meeting and after aftercare and all that kind of stuff, where, oh my gosh. Now, I've had previous encounters with them, and it's like, you really don't care to hear what I have to say. You absolutely really don't. Like, I get there's a point where you want to vent, you want to feel that you're heard. Well, don't I want the same? I want the same respect, right? I'm there, yet you keep pushing me away, right? Because you don't want to hear what I have to say. You want me to put it in a way that fits into your box. And that's not me. That's not me. There's no way, shape, or form where I'm going to let that be something to where I dictate myself to make you feel good, right? I'm not part of society in that sense, and I don't accrue to add the value to a system that does that, right? It's not religious in any way, shape, or form. I don't have to bow down to you. You don't line up to employ me in any way, shape, or form, and or that of where how I get to eat today, simply to say. And in a way of saying like follow the money, right, or whatever, Yet this is not caveman days, and I don't have to follow the strongest strength of physicality and all that kind of stuff. I still get to be able to eat today and be myself, so I don't have to submit to that. No one really does, As long as you have your basic needs taken care of, why would you go ahead and give up your sense of sanity, your peace of mind, to make them feel great, right? Yet that leads into attraction rather than promotion. So, I go ahead and have hope again, or I never really lost it yet. Hope, the future that doesn't really exist, but the imagination, absolutely, right? To not have that experience of that, what could be the war story of how challenging it is to already have that happen again and again, because the same thing, right? And so it's about attraction rather than promotion, and not holding on to those expectations of the past, right? The which past, the whole time conception is just what it's so elusive and astounding upon itself. Yet, so not focusing on the pain, and what's the solution? Don't go the opposite of tradition 4, and tradition 5, what's the message, right? Don't focus on the messenger, don't focus on the past experiences and all that kind of pain, in and of itself, because of tradition 1, unity, and promise 1, what's painstaking about this, and promise 6, to lose interest in ourselves and to gain interest in our fellows, right? And step 12, the virtue of it in and of itself, to be of service, and yet having this spiritual awakening as a result of these steps and all that kind of stuff, putting the work in. It comes down to this where as in of itself, step 12, that I'm done trying with them at that level, right, of communicating, of sitting down, and other than saying, oh, hi, how are you doing? You're doing good? Okay. Keep checking in, because I know for a fact, the simple fact of, if you like everybody in your recovery area, the meeting, whatever, you have not gone to enough meetings. You have not worked at a level, or you're not within a time frame in your recovery to get past to realize that you're not going to like everybody. You will not like everybody in your recovery area. You're not meant to. That's not how life works. Yet you are meant to value them. They have something to teach you, right? You can go ahead and take what they give you and, zenify it, right? Rechannel, redefine that energy, because they're the best teacher for it. And you're the student at that point, right? Yet there's no bad student. There's only bad teachers, in a sense, right? And so, because sometimes you're the teacher, right? And so you just got to make the room, allowing them to do what they do. Okay, yeah, it's attraction rather than promotion. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And yet, every time I go ahead and communicate to The one that I'm talking about, right? Anonymity, absolutely. They're not part of this communicate, or you weren't part of the happening. So, and it doesn't really matter, even if you were, right? What's the message? And so, to say simply, you know, they want to vent. Oh, okay. Well, I want to communicate. There's a point where I kept that in mind from the last time that we had the interaction from the previous encounter. Mm. And so then, in and of itself, to say simply, well, I let them go ahead and say their piece, P's and Q's, right? Of how, whatever it may be, to simply say, it came down to a point where, once again, they don't want to hear what I have to offer, my part in the communication, right? And they're at a mental level of whatever they're at. Everybody's at a different level, and yet I'm valuable. I do deserve to take up space, and I'm not going to keep on letting you rent space in my head because it's for what reason, right? Now I'm attempting to one up myself because that's what it is. It's space in my head. It's not them, right? It doesn't mean I have to go and say you are an a wipe because how you don't value or want my anything from me. You just want me to sit there and that you feel that because you aren't at a level of communicating to a wall, right? But essentially, you want me to be a wall that doesn't respond and just sits there and takes it, right? And then you have to go ahead and go get to the level of being able to communicate and hear from that wall, right? What's the difference of a higher power at that point? Just saying. And yet, in and of itself, there was a point where it's like, I see that you're getting heated. And they were like, well, isn't that a point of venting? And it's like, okay, but you're focusing on the pain and not the solution, right? You're going against tradition 4. And I didn't really put it that way. I did say, well, you're getting a little heated and I don't really want to continue, basically. And they're like, well, da 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 da. I don't really recall verbatim what they said. Yet, for some reason, I kept going and staying there, even though there was other points where I'm like, oh, my intuition, my higher power is saying, let's go. This is your point to leave. And maybe not into that level. To go against my, my intuition, all that kind of stuff. I just picked up on it's getting that to that point. Maybe this is the time to go before it gets to any other point. And yet, so it got to the point where they're like, I don't want to hear your context and da 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 da. And it's like, okay, well, so that happened, right? And I'm just like, man, so what did I have to do to get my peace of mind? To get it to a point of, sanity, right? Not to have step 1 be activated and all that kind of stuff, right? Because that part of me that now I get to work on gets to be healed, right? To be of service, healing and by through a program, which is myself, program. So, you always got to respect the program by being of service in the program, simply to say. And it's always about attraction rather than promotion. Now, every time they say, I don't want to continue, whatever, I walk away because they're not going to hear it anymore. They are so shut down in being rigid in a religious ideology of dogmatic whatever thought processes that they are. Okay, and that's fine. That's who they want to be at that moment. That's fine. I don't have to take that abuse at that moment because that's basically what it is. Absolutely. Yet, simply to say, and another way of saying it, that's always, and I keep on saying, because it really is always about that attraction rather than promotion. So I was kind and loving and all that kind of stuff, right? I respected them. Maybe one day they'll realize that. Maybe they realize it right after the fact, right? Once I stop looking at the pain and focus on the solution, and I at the same time they're boggled down by the fact that their mommy, by blood, all that kind of stuff, transitioned somewhere else, you want me to rephrase it? They died, right? There's no difference. They're both the same thing. It's just what's your relative context of the definition of how you talk, right? And how you're focusing on the pain and all that, what it may be. And regardless, they always had some kind of mental challenge to get past. And maybe it's a problem to them and problems to me by the word, of summing up what a definition would be is a dead end. A problem is a dead end. If it's a challenge, you'll get through it and it's temporary. Absolutely. Yet, there's that point where it's like, okay, you're so focused on the pain and because they were saying, well, why do they got to be like this? And if they really wanted to work on themselves and change, they would do it. Well, not everybody knows how to sweep. Did you know that? Not everybody knows how to sweep. And how do you get to a point of getting to be able to be not complaining that the floor is dirty is, showing them, right? Not yelling, not degrading. It's attraction rather than a promotion, right? Saying, oh, I really appreciate your smile today, and then go into it, right? Yet, so how do you sweep? Well, you constantly sweep the same area, right? And it's challenging to go ahead and say this because it's just by words, right? And I don't know your context of your definition of what that even means to you, yet do you have to simply let that last little bit of dust stay on the ground? Are you going to sweep it under something? What's the point of sweeping then, right? At the same sense, you don't have to let that one little dust line stay on the ground, right? You can get a towel that's, moisturized and wet, okay, from water, all that kind of stuff. Oh, I don't have that. Don't you have some dirty clothes that you're probably going to wash? Oh, okay. Oh, no, I don't want it to get dirty. Oh, okay, well then why don't you go ahead and wet your hand? Okay, and because you're going to sweep it right next to the sink, right? Why work harder? Why take more steps? Are you going to count your steps today? Maybe that's your goal. Who knows? And then go ahead and wet your hand and then wipe it up, right? Or go ahead and mop, right? You don't have to let it sit there. That's crazy in and of itself. It's like, what? Do you not realize how, insanity it absolutely is to clean something and then have a dirty tool that you just cleaned it up with? It's like, oh, I have a clean house. Oh, well, did you ever clean your broom? Did you clean your vacuum? When was the last time you ever did that? Do you realize that the bathroom is probably the cleanest room in the house because you clean it more with, so it's like, yeah. So because not everybody knows these things, or maybe they do, and all that kind of stuff. It's always about attraction rather than promotion. And, well, how do they get to that point? Well, they gotta, be willing to let that hurt go and focus on the solution, or be at a point where there's an adequate teacher that is able to perform in such a way to line it up to where they're able to absolutely comprehend how to understand how to go about this in a proficient, productive way, and stop being busy, stop listening, stop using, stop going through the motions, waiting for that elevator door to open because you had patience to do what you're told and never think for yourself, right? You are super religious in your Western philosophy of all that is being a good citizen. It's like, okay, whatever. When was the last time you contacted your public servants? That's your job as we the people. But, okay. Oh, but they get away with, because they keep on communicating. They don't just focus on the pain. They keep on finding the solution. Yet regardless of any of that, of, what could seem like an outside issue, yet isn't, this is not a meeting, and this is just part of my recovery, and this is who I am, right? I'm not going to hide that. I'm not going to subjugate myself because you don't, at that point, or at this point, or whatever it may be, not willing to ask more questions, right? Because not everybody knows everything. They don't. Spirituality doesn't teach you everything. Religion doesn't share everything. Science doesn't acquire and showcase all the answers in adequate forms because, it all comes down to, do you ask more questions? Are you, how active part in your life are you? And are you going to go ahead and take responsibility and stop complaining and acting like it's actually sensible and productive that someone's going to come save you, right? Are you promoting rather than attracting at that point? And so, you know, that's why there's the value of and the absolute matter of fact and why it's stated that it's about attraction rather than promotion, right? Because if it was not that, it would be advice. And at that point, I'm telling you that you can do better, and trying is absolutely worthless because you do what you do, and if you can't do it, then go somewhere else because you're a keeper. Keep going that way because I don't have time for you because you're probably the one that God made crayons for, and the middle finger to go ahead and reflect what area I'm pointing to because you need to go ahead and color in that line by connecting the dots and then color in that line because I don't have time to waste my peace of mind. It probably was yours of what you take. It was never mine. You can have it back. You're a waste of my time. And yet, that's me focusing on, the problem and not the solution in and of itself, right? Me communicating and all that kind of stuff, not isolating, being an agnostic, and doing anonymity all in of itself to say, hey, it's okay. I don't see the cheetah. I don't have to run right now. I'm not in immediate danger. I did spot that cheetah and I started running. I did not wait to be patient enough to go through the motions saying, oh, you have a motivational best quote? Well, here's mine. Oh, you won, so I better start running, right? So it's always about attraction rather than promotion. Everyone does have value. Everyone can walk away happy. It's your base of what is your standing. Are you referring from the real world where trees produce oxygen, everything's provided, and life is super, super easy because all you gotta do is keep asking and use the unlimited ATM of the universe, right? That's really what it comes down to. Or you're gonna act like society's everything, and that's where hardship comes from. That's where, everybody takes from somebody else, trying to one up themselves because they don't know how to ask more questions and they never been told and encouraged other than through a Western philosophy, depending on what you are doing in of itself, and never utilize the Eastern philosophy upon itself that everything has value and everything is one. Yet. So to kind of conclude this moment in this podcast, and of itself, this communication level, or whatever it can be, to kind of reiterate and kind of go back to a point that I was touching on in the latter of what this communication is. That, yes, I love to do this part of my day. This is now how I keep adding and keep rehydrating in the marathon of my recovery, right? And the pancake, analogy, I just had to flip it, right? Because my shoes fit just right. And yet, before I started this, because, there was a point where I didn't want to show up. I didn't want to get to, because I was like, man, rah, 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 all that pain and it's like, okay, well, now that I felt that emotion, okay, and that fear of itself or the messenger, I accepted the message, right? I didn't, oh no, you can't come in, even though you're a singing telegram and it's probably really nice, right? Break up that monotony. You can read it and you're going to put some vocal tunes to it. Well, what's up? Snap, snap. Don't crackle back because I answered the door. You don't have to get larger. You don't have to become the storm to where then I tell my higher power, oh, there's a storm. And then my higher power says, that's cool. Well, I'm going to let you get to the point where you tell that storm that your higher power is bigger. Here's your peace of mind. Where's your sanity at? Be some service. Get out of your way. Leave yourself at the door. Absolutely, Yet, it simply comes down to this of what I am saying now, that I didn't really want to show up, but I did, and I am. And so here I'm at. Peaceful. Where's my peace of mind at? Yet, how did I get to that point? I went back to the foundation of reading the daily inspirations. Now, my sponsor said, every day read the daily reflections. Okay. And at that point, when I heard that, I'm like, I don't really relate to A. I have this pain, this resentment from all their pain. They're not saying stuff. And it's like, okay. Yet, taking the guidance and suggestion from my sponsor, right? Not that I always relate to my sponsor. Absolutely not. There's so many points I'm like, okay. Yet, they do help me get out of my head and find humility and gracious enjoyment in where I'm at and what others can offer, right? And so, what I'm saying at this point is I had to use the daily reflections and just for today and all that kind of stuff, the daily inspirations. And at the same time, I had to, or I got to, be part of my life, go to this acronyms. I go ahead and, because recoveryhq.com is such an immaculate resource, and they freely give what they have, and that's how they get to keep it. And they get to keep it this time with care, kind of thing where they absolutely have all the readings. Well, not all of them, but they have quite a countable at some point of whatever is relative to you saying that. Yet they have all the readings of the daily reflections and all that kind of stuff right on their website for free, all in one place. Absolutely. And so I went ahead and, downloaded all of them because it's a PDF, and they put it on, a transcription of an editable document online, basically, right? And so I went ahead and did that, and then I go ahead and copy and paste what I like, in a sense, and then I go ahead and add the acronyms in and of itself to say simply. And then I go ahead and put together my topic, right? Because, simply to say, in the moment when we see little of what can come, we seem to forget that others have value, and only by attraction rather than promotion can we get to keep doing tradition 4 and hold the space for promise 6. Yet there's a point where, okay, so this whole little sentence I put together to kind of, put together the acronyms of the family we have is the ones that we want to kiss and help us push through what is the moments of us using Q-tip, or the Q-tip, of being able to hold fear in its place, maybe to trust again. Okay, so family as its acronym, forget about me and I love you, right? Like that one was such, I finally got a spiritual awakening upon that one of what is it? What? Forget about me and I love you. Oh, what? Well, this is about the attraction rather than promotion, right? And then, kiss, keep it simply simple, right? And push, pray until something happens. Q-tip, quit taking it personal. Fear, face everything and rise. Trust, try relying upon steps and traditions. Right? So let's read that again. The family we have is the one that we want to kiss and help us push through what is the moments of us using the Q-tip, of being able to hold fear in its place. Maybe to trust again. It's up to you. Who do you want to be? So in another way of saying, before I conclude this episode or whatever it may be, right? My journey upon my peace of mind that I'm sharing freely, is that you have to go ahead. You have to go ahead and focus yourself. Where's your peace of mind at? Go ahead and meditate, right? Pray so you can meditate, so you can make conscious contact, improve your conscious contact with your higher power, your peace of mind, right? So that you can keep your house in order, zen your garden more adequately with love and kindness, because it does not matter what hood you're in, childhood, adulthood, manhood. It comes down to being kind and loving and being able to leave it better than you found it. Absolutely simple, right? Treat others how you want to be treated. Absolutely. Attraction rather than promotion. Right? And so it's all about how you go ahead and get yourself prepared so that when you're ready, when you're ready, you're able to be kind, loving, and leave it better than you found it. Not tear down, add to the brick, to their wall, all that kind of stuff, right? It's about attraction rather than promotion. Yet, how do you get yourself mentally prepared, right? So you can be mentally fit, emotionally fit, spiritually fit, and physically fit, right? Balance. Because there's three kinds of sobriety. I'm just saying physical, emotional, and spiritual. Absolutely. Yet, let me go ahead and conclude this episode of this podcast at this moment because, I feel better that I showed up. I feel better that I get to. I feel better that I filled up my cup and I'm giving it away freely, not putting myself in debt. Absolutely not. And yet, being able to relate, find a sense of belonging so that I can come home, find unity in myself because I was painstaking about this, lost all fear of insecurities and self-doubt, and known that my past is the key to letting others flourish and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. So you have a great day. I love you, and you are able to take up space because you deserve it. This has been an episode of the podcast entitled Pancake Marathon. Why? Because you got to flip it. You got to start living life 180, and then after you do 180, do 360 so you can see where you were at and keep going with your experience to your hope or your strength now and to your hope. Absolutely. And it's a marathon. How do you keep going? How do you rehydrate? How do you, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. You have a great day. You do deserve to take up space, and your shoes fit just right. Keeping you. You do deserve to know that you are loved and perfect. If you keep on putting the work in, will you reach perfection? Because progress is the way to reach perfection. And only because in the past we recovered, yet it's always about never fully recovering because now you're in this moment, right? And so how do you repair and recovery? Absolutely. Through attraction rather than promotion. Have a great one, everybody. I love you. So, as it simply is stated, this next part is how I sum up my way back home through recovery. And what will I follow? Absolutely. And always remember, love thyself like thy neighbor. And who shall we be? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us those trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us, or put us in debt. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I kind of yet I just really wanted to say the first part, who loves us like thy neighbor, and so shall we be, our Father. I'm just saying. Yet, this next part is absolutely, well, what shall we find, and how shall we find the way when we keep going and finding a way home?
I'll follow you wherever you go. Stay close to you, 'cause darling, you're my home.